Hey everyone, welcome back to Activate Your Classroom. I'm your host, Glenn Wagner. Now in this video, I want to explore something I think all of us teachers have had trouble with at one time or another, and that's classroom management. Now the big question I want to explore here in classroom management is why some teachers are so darn good at it compared to other teachers. Why is it that one teacher can have such a strong command in their classroom, yet you walk down the hallway and there's another teacher struggling to take command of their class, even though they're pretty much teaching the identical students? Why the difference? What I want to show you now is what teachers do to successfully manage their classroom over a long period of time. And I'm not talking about the rules and the regulations of your classroom, like when to go to the washroom or when to use your cell phone. I'll leave that completely, utterly up to you. But what I do want to show you is what these teachers do in terms of the relationships that they build, not only with the student to the teacher, but also the student to the curriculum. Let me show you how this looks. Building relationships between you and your students is probably the most powerful way to manage your classroom. When you build these relationships, you ultimately build trust between you and the students. And from there, you can teach them just about anything. So how do you build a relationship? Well, something that I use is something called the 2x10 strategy. Now, the 2x10 strategy works like this. Find those students that are more challenging in your class to manage, the ones that cause you a little more grief than what they should. And then spend 10 consecutive days for 2 minutes a day, whether at the beginning, the middle, or the end, or whenever, and have conversations with that student. In other words, ask them open-ended questions about their home life, about their sporting life, about their hobby life, or perhaps notice an interesting t-shirt that they're wearing, or perhaps notice the doodle art that might be on their binder. In other words, get a line of communication going with that student. Share some information about your life. Get them to know you just like you want to get to know them. And once you do that, you're going to establish a sense of trust between you and that student. And they're going to see you more as a person as opposed to an authority figure at the front of the classroom that they can challenge. Now, teachers who have reported using the 2x10 strategy had noted a significant drop-off in their classroom management issues, especially when they targeted those more challenging students. So give it a try. Start with your more challenging students and then work your way through the remainder of the students. And you're going to build trust with this, and you're going to build a rapport with the students. And from there, you're going to see your classroom management issues really level off. Remember, it's all about the relationships first. Now, one way to gain control in your classroom, strangely, is to actually give up some of that control to the students. And by that I mean giving students some choices. Choices in what they learn, how they learn it, and how they're going to present that learning. Because we know from psychological research that choice plays a very powerful role in motivation to learn. Now imagine that as teachers, we were told exactly what to teach, exactly how to teach it, and exactly how to evaluate the students. I imagine that we'd get bored and frustrated and perhaps even unmotivated in the long run to do our work. And it's the same with our students. If we don't give them some semblance of control, some semblance of ownership, then should it surprise us that over time that the students are going to act out in our classrooms in ways that we don't expect and probably aren't very pleasant. So if you give students some autonomy in their learning through choice of what it is they're going to learn, how they're going to learn it, and how they're going to present it, the student then becomes accountable for their own learning. And they become accountable to themselves and not necessarily accountable to you because they had the choice in what it is that they were going to do and how they were going to structure that learning and to demonstrate how well they know it. Now, this isn't going to surprise anyone, but kids love to interact with each other. They love to relate with each other, and they love to chat. So why not use this in a more productive fashion? So why not try some teaching techniques that you can use that would then bring about productive talk in the classroom? Now, these teaching techniques might be something as simple as think, pair, share, or the 3-step interview, or even placemat, where students work with each other around a common goal. But regardless of what you think you might use, what these all have in common is that they hold students accountable to learn. And it also engages every student in their learning. So in this way, I think you have an opportunity here to use this relatedness among the students, their desire to be sociable, to your advantage. Like every person, we all want to be good at something. Even students want to be good at school. It's just that sometimes we don't give them enough opportunity to be able to master a particular idea or a particular amount of content. Now, we all know that students are going to take different amounts of time, whether it's mastering how to shoot a basketball, doing an oil change, or solving a quadratic formula. So give them that extra time, give them that little bit of extra coaching so that they can ultimately master what it is that they're asked to learn at their level of competency. So if we want our students to get truly good at what it is that they're trying to learn, then we need to be flexible in terms of the timelines and deadlines within reason in order to help students meet their learning goals. And again, remember, all students learn at different rates, so we have to respect that. But if you give them that flexibility, the student's going to see right away that you care, and that you want them to learn and learn well. And again, that's going to build that more of a solid relationship between you and the student. So give that a try, and I think you're going to find that the students are greatly going to appreciate that, especially those students who struggle a little bit more in your class. Finally, if you want to motivate your students to learn and to enjoy learning in your classroom, ask yourself this: how relevant is what they're learning in that lesson today that they can take away and say, this is really cool, this really applies to my real life? If students can't see the relevance to their learning, the real world application to it, why would we expect them to stay motivated in the long run? So find a hook, find something to grab their attention, give them a reason to pay attention. So give yourself permission to give your curriculum a little bit of a tweak so you can bring in some of these real life ideas in conversations in order to show that the learning that they're doing in the classroom has meaning. Now, what does all this talk of motivation to learn, choice, productive interactions, and relevance of learning, what does that have to do with classroom management anyway? Well, it turns out it's everything. Because if the kids know that they're going to come into a classroom environment where they can think at high levels, they can interact with each other through relevant material, your classroom management issues will be almost non-existent. And it all starts with the relationships you build with the students and the relationships that students can build with their curriculum. Okay, let's sum up. The most powerful thing that you can do as a teacher to maintain classroom management is to build relationships with your students. Next, make sure that you get the students to build a relationship between themselves and their curriculum. And you can do this by giving students choice in what they learn, how they learn it, and how they present what they've learned. And don't forget the social aspect of learning. There are many productive ways that you can get students to engage with each other so that they can learn at a high level and also enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Glenn Wagner for Activate Your Classroom. Feel free to click on the subscribe button below in order to receive future videos on how to engage all students in the lessons you create for your students. And click on the links below in order to help guide you through the relationship building with your students, along with building relationships between the students and their curriculum using a variety of teaching techniques that I think are really, really valuable, really easy to use, but have a lot of high impact. Thanks again.